Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and today we're looking at Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, the Telltale Series. This is a 2017 game that unfortunately is just not available for purchase anymore, so this one's going to be a bit more of a historical coverage of the game. Has since been other Guardians of the Galaxy games not involved with the original Telltale company, thus not uh, defunct at this point. And if anything, this highlights perhaps the unimportant nature of the early Marvel licensed games as we were in phase 1 or maybe early phase 2 of the Marvel movies versus, well, I guess games even now, even in late phase 3 of Marvel movies or late phase 2 of Marvel movies are still pretty much unimportant. Yeah, licensed games, guess, just not that important in general, but they did make a different game that I think would have covered the story of the first 3 Guardians of the Galaxy movies probably better, whereas this game is probably more telling a side story around the Guardians of the Galaxy and the first movie. There are obvious spoilers that are not going to be touched upon in this story from the third movie, which I haven't even watched. But yeah, it certainly is a weird situation to play a game that, even if I said it was an amazing game worth playing, that nobody can purchase new. And it does highlight how the original Telltale games is really defunct, and there's a ton of their games that I have covered on my channel, and still some that I haven't covered yet that are not available for purchase. Yes, The Walking Dead has been re-released or remastered maybe 2 or 3 times, but anything that was a license has been left to effectively rot, with the exception of the Batman games, and maybe the Batman games, and the Wolf Among Us comic book license. You may notice, if you've played this game, that the audio sounds different here. That is because, since there is a narrative of Peter Quill, I believe is his name, having a mixtape, showing it there, and that being licensed music, they have added a stream safe music mode. So yes, you would be hearing something completely different if you had that enabled. I'm not a super fan of this menu. Telltale, as it continued to churn out games far too fast, got worse and worse about optimizing its interfaces and just in general improving on things. So, like, not being able to know what the medium subtitle size is at the moment makes me just have to guess that medium is what I want. It started on small. It's interesting that there's this feature for an auto-updating language as far as display text, but I would assume that the language never actually was updated. It's unnecessary. You would just fix any typos or anything in a patch. You wouldn't have to have an auto updater specifically for that. There is a minimal display style and a standard display style. We'll keep that on. As far as graphics, I've just turned everything up to high. It's low, medium, high, and while that does change the graphics for this load screen in the back, it is all dimmed out, so it's pretty difficult to tell the difference between low, medium, or high on that. Not sure if I really want bokeh to be at high, but we'll leave it on high since the only other options are low or off. Anti-aliasing was on by default, full screen, 1080p. All very basic standard things. You can't log into Telltale accounts anymore, so getting the statistics, which were kind of a big thing about other Telltale games, where you saw how other people voted, would be nice, but you don't get them anymore. And I would heavily suspect crowd play doesn't work either. Even if it did work, that would be a little weird, certainly. So, yeah. We can't see any of our choices because we haven't played the game yet. And effectively, I guess if you're just not familiar with what a Telltale game is, it's effectively a visual novel. Sometimes there's a little bit of 3D walking around, but it's a multiple choices, but the choices tend not to really matter too much. Maybe you'll get one big choice at the end of the 5th episode that gives you a significantly different ending, but everything just ends up at the same narrow gated point in the story before that point. So in the example of The Walking Dead, if you let one person survive and another person die in episode 1, well, by episode 2 the other person that you didn't choose would also die, and you wouldn't have any way of influencing that. So both characters were effectively going to be dead by that episode 2 point. There is this pop-up visiting Telltale Online also doesn't work. There's potential spoilers if we look at the other episodes, even in the name of the title, so we probably don't want to get into that. It's hard to say that any of the Guardians of the Galaxies really look like the characters in the Marvel movies, but they look close enough to, I imagine, how they're depicted in the comics. And if anything, I would assume that this is probably very close to the events of the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, which was a fairly large surprise hit. So, yeah. Is there too much more to deal with? So you could turn crowd play. To do that, you would have to sign into a Telltale account. So crowd play doesn't work. And I'll probably get that pop-up to sign in multiple times. Yeah. Telltale, had it been more successful, potentially could have revolutionized the audience for visual novels, whereas almost all other visual novels are written by Japanese people and are in an anime Japanese style. There are a few Western visual novels, but they tended to be such of a low quality that they didn't help improve the field. And most visual novels tend to have like 40,000 words to 200,000 words in them, and they really all are novels first, whereas Telltale games kind of aren't. They're short. Each of these 5 episodes is going to be maybe 1 to 3 hours long, so you're getting a 15-hour experience, where a good visual novel, you could take your time on it and do 60 hours to 200 hours in it easily. But also, because there was more simplistic art styles in your average visual novel, you can go in further directions and just have more things happen. There's a lot that Telltale spent, or arguably wasted, their money and resources on by making 3D models and having animated motions with every depiction. It makes Telltale games feel like they are closer to interactive cartoons than anything else. But they lack physics engines that would really work, or any kind of other gameplay mechanic that would work. So unlike an RPG game that has a lot of cutscenes in it, there's no grinding by fighting skeletons or fighting rats or fighting goblins to make a game feel longer and more worth it. Do we need to set up anything else more? No, I think people will get it, so let's just hop into episode 1. Apparently I'm supposed to adjust the brightness until the logo is barely seen, so let's just help with that. You may need to pause the video and adjust your brightness too. Generally, I like to keep the brightness a little bit higher, so yes, I can technically barely see this with all the lights on in my room. I can't see anything there. I think it might be a little bit nicer to go one step up. It's not a big change there. Make it a little bit brighter. Of course, for the recording, you may have to crank up the brightness on your TV, particularly if you're watching like a video on like the YouTube app, or I don't know if the Twitch app is the same, but the YouTube app on a TV will use the TV brightness scale, which chops off, I think, about 5% from the top and 5% from the bottom, and makes things generally more dark. Ideally, there would be an overlay interface for Steam and other platforms like Xbox and PlayStation, where you'd adjust the story is tailored to how you pay. The game series adapts to the choices you make. And again, we may be hearing this exact same streamer safe music a lot. I don't think the game really does adapt to your choices, though. Adapting would imply that it actually cares about your choices that much, instead of really just undercutting your choices. So we have Peter Quill, aka Star-Lord, in space, hanging out with the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians, this is the Nova Corps. We have a situation. Thanos is here!
Destroyer of worlds, big glowy gauntlet, wrinkly chin. Yeah, I've heard of him.
You have to help us. This is a priority 1 distress call, Star-Lord. I know
Let's
we
see.
rarely
So
ask
you
for
pick your choices,
but we're desperate.
and you have a timer, and whatever you say doesn't really matter.
Guardians of the Galaxy. Only you can save us.
Of course, if you want to hear everything, you kind of have to wait till almost the end.
I don't have to do anything.
So
What's
this
in it
seems
for
like
me?
this is potentially after
we,
the events
Well, we'll expunge your past crimes from your
of
record.
some of the movies.
Hijacking a Star Blaster on Xandar, consorting with a Centaurian delinquent.
So should we include our crew, or how about future crimes?
Breaking into a Class 9 hyper prison, being arrested and then escaping from said prison. Possession of a Galonk death ray. Smuggling and auctioning Kalilian eggs.
Your
Allegations
enjoyment of a
counterfeiting
game like
gambling
this
and
is going
serial
to
public nudity.
come
Come on.
from
Not to mention
just how much you
371
enjoy
counts of illegally parking a spacecraft.
how much you enjoy
I
the
want a clean
characters
slate
in the
for
story.
my whole crew. Rocket, Gamora, Groot, and Drax.
Nova Prime won't be happy about this. But if that's what it'll take, we can do it. Okay, here's the situation. We tracked Thanos to this Kree planet. But when our fighters engaged, he decimated our fleet. Without your help, he'll kill us all. We're no match for him. Half our ships are already gone. We've set up a defensive position around the planet, but we can't hold out for long.
You got it, Space Cops. Be right there. The Guardians are on it.
Now the problem here is
Thank
you don't get to
Star-Lord.
really
Please
pause,
hurry.
and what he said there was basically wrong. Thanos wouldn't decimate, which is literally
Time to
defined
rock
as
and
killing
roll.
1/10 of the populace. Thanos would kill half of the populace. That is his whole plan with getting the Infinity Gauntlet. I guess you could argue maybe he's already killed 1/10 and he plans to kill more.
Looks like death out there.
Business as usual.
I'm not complaining.
If we're just gonna hear the same music over and over again, I'm just gonna turn the music down. So then you get these little QuickTime events, which that is unique to Telltale games.
You two want
It
to quit making
effectively
out healthy
means
before we explode?
that if you fail the QuickTime event, the character will have some kind of a scar. But
Thanks, Yumi.
they tend not to actually die because
And fixed. On to the
a
next
quick time
disaster.
event won't lead
And
to the
that is
death of a character.
Where to begin? Thrusters fried.
This
the
game
pilot
is going to
spitting out
save
carbon.
like crazy to
Oh,
remember
and now
every
Groot's
decision.
on fire. Groot's on fire!
Peter!
And certainly these are just quick time events to
I am Groot.
make you
Groot
feel
says
like you're
thanks.
actually interacting with
Wait,
a game, but it
You're
is
all
really
here.
just all on a roller
Who the hell is
coaster.
flying my ship?
And you can't really change the path.
whoa, Drax!
Do not distract me, Star-Lord. Thanos is here. Today, I finally slay our nemesis. My dead wife and daughter shall have their vengeance. I have longed for this day of dead. Dreamed of it.
See.
Hey, I'm all aboard the vengeance train, okay? But let's worry about not getting killed before we kill him.
We're on a spaceship, not a train.
Move, Drax!
Yeah, I don't feel like the comedy plays off as well without the rest of the live action characters saying those lines and delivering them. And
Enjoying
I assume none of
I
the
didn't show you shut
actors
up,
from the
okay?
movie
To a great
are
start
actually doing
today.
the voices for this game. After the first dozen or so
All right,
Telltale
guys.
episodes you've played, though,
Let me show you how
it all
it's
just
done.
feels incredibly repetitive and pointless. You might as well have a mod for this game where it just plays out to the best outcomes. Imagine we're going to crash on a planet because flying around in space would not be as interesting to look at. And there is a chance here you may have thought that this game actually came out before the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, but I'm fairly certain at least the first one would have already been released.
I am Groot.
No. No. That was absolutely not fun, you stupid log.
You can always choose not to
Anybody
say
dead?
anything, but then part of the problem with Telltale games too is you pick a choice,
Okay.
and then they'll say a
Where's the
different
other
set
green
of words
Wishing we had better seatbelts.
instead of it being a
Still
case
breathing.
of you picking the dialogue choice and him speaking the exact words you pick. That leads to the case on rare occasions where you'll pick a dialogue choice and you'll think that you're
Get me down!
intending to say something
Precious little baby!
one way and then
on
it
our
gets
ship.
said in a completely different way. Sometimes the character says something angrily when you think it would be jokingly or more neutral tone.
Stupid, stubby little arms. Come to Papa.
Just not say anything here and show.
Stop staring at me like that. We're all gonna be red-faced in a second if you don't help me.
So now they want me to use the left stick to wiggle this gun downward.
Give it.
Gun's about to explode.
Another nanosecond, and we all would have been atomized.
Still looks like it'll blow up to me.
It sure ain't no toy. We get pushed around by a lot of dangerous jerks. I built this bad boy to push back. Ain't she a beaut? She's still a little unstable. But who isn't?
I like the way your brain works.
Now, I don't think the
too.
movie has
So this is
Gamora
how I
as
die.
green as Drax. It definitely stands out weird that you'd have two
The mad
green-looking
Titan
characters,
arrives. He is heading towards those ruins.
even if they were the same species,
Looks like the Nova Corps failed. It's up to us to take him down.
Just the 5 of us.
The
And
Marvel
that
universe
gun.
has kind of a limited number of aliens that they actually deal with a lot of. Telltale Games also kind of notorious for giving out achievements, and the achievement just played a noise. I'm almost wondering if that is a new feature of Steam
Thanos.
that plays a notification sound, because it feels like up until this point
Smell his evil
I've never
stench.
heard of a game making noise when an achievement unlocks. And I definitely don't think it's a good addition.
That door is not gonna budge so easily.
Yeah, well.
The problem here is
Okay, so this gun ain't totally, operational yet. And it only has 1 shot. But think of
Like,
it as a feature.
if you get
Yeah.
these guys
I
in front of
mean, you can't
Thanos,
harness enough energy to
he's
atomize
either
a
gonna
biggish
completely
moon or
defeat them,
smallish planet without
or
some
he's gonna send a bunch of
drawbacks.
armies after them to
Right?
defeat them.
Am I right?
Okay. We'll find another way in.
Thanks for understanding, Pete. I'll make sure you're not in the blast radius when this sucker finally goes off.
Now, let's see.
So you get these free play sections, which in this instance is going to be just looking around and finding things. Right now we can't even walk. Interesting, you can't even look at Gamora. I wonder how much of the romance aspect potentially between Gamora and Star-Lord might happen, because that would be an indication of Telltale trying to tell a different kind of story, which they haven't really tried to do. Almost every single story they've told has been a very masculine action experience. The closest they ever got was hiring 5 different writers to do the first season of The Walking Dead, and leaning more on a nurturing, raising a daughter narrative of the first season.
I am Groot.
So we see Groot. Groot doesn't look much like the TV show, the movie either. We see Drax. But yeah. It was a struggle, basically, for Telltale to even make this much interaction on their
Think I see
engine.
a way over.
Their engine
Tread lightly,
may have been
Star-Lord.
decent when it first started,
Thanos
but
must not detect our presence.
by
I'm not
these
gonna
later
tread at all.
games, it was totally outdated. Had they used the D-pad to reach upper platforms using the jet boost. Okay. So now there's different levels, theoretically, but not really.
Oh, hey. Easy there, Shifty.
Had Telltale guessed right and leaned on the Unity engine, they would have probably succeeded a lot better. It certainly was the rage back in the day to have your own engines, and your own proprietary engine that nobody else worked on or used. But had they used a more open, I don't think the Unity engine is open source, that's the wrong word. Had they used a third-party engine that a lot of other people had
Peter?
used,
Answer me! Peter, are you injured? Say something.
then they would have been able to use the Unity Asset Store and
Don't worry about me, Gamora. I
make
can handle
games even
myself.
faster,
Okay, just checking.
or at least
Sometimes you
games
require adult supervision.
more robust and more interactable. That being said, if Telltale just made more games, that wouldn't have saved them. They needed to have some variety. After The Walking Dead, they needed to
What happened?
try and
Did you find the
make a
Nova
different type of game with the same mentality in the writing, or a completely different type of game in general.
Hang on. I'll find you guys a way through.
Alright, so now we have actual abilities to walk around, but it isn't really the best system ever. You've got a right stick to click on things, and so walking towards something is not really necessary. Walking towards this corpse does not give us an option to investigate, touch, or pick up any kind of item.
Officially creeped out.
And if we do find an item, it's either going to be an item that we need to get past this point, or it's going to be an item that is unnecessary. But they'll try and make it seem like it's necessary. And this is really just a very small circular section. And I really shouldn't be walking as much as I should be moving the right stick to select things.
Worth a shot.
How's it look from over there, Peter?
This thing is really solid. I'm gonna need something heavy duty to punch through.
Well, keep looking. We're
He's
counting on
turning
you.
around to show you what he thinks would help. So I guess
Stand
this
back.
is the case.
I'm gonna try and push it down.
Be strong, Star-Lord.
Hey, wow, that's working great.
Having the ability to float up to 3 different levels does potentially give you some more areas to search, although that
Looks like some
only
kind
is going to drag out this sequence.
fungus. Maybe?
Generally speaking, I kind of feel like almost all the Marvel and DC universe is only
This was a
interesting
fun
when
bag.
set on Earth. DC, I think, does a little bit better job with like the Green Lantern and affiliated sections there.
Not sure what it looked like before, but
Stories
this
and
place got
spin-off
trashed.
stories from Green Lantern. Whereas Marvel doesn't really have that much that has ever caught my attention as far as the Kree or the Guardians of the Galaxy. Thanos is interesting, certainly when he's on Earth, but he's kind of boring. Otherwise, Silver Surfer's not particularly interesting to me when he's not on Earth.
They're all... Yeah.
Be helpful if you saw like bullet holes in the bodies. Otherwise, you kind of have to assume that this is some kind of biological thing.
Sounds like Thanos is already down there.
There's the whole Thanos and what is the other guy's name? Apocalypse in DC issue in which both of the characters are easily confused in my mind,
Man, I broke the hell out of this thing.
and the backstory of the two characters are effectively confused because of that. Thanos is the one with the Infinity Gauntlet and the obsession for the personification of death. So we could talk to our characters from the radio, which that's new, although it doesn't really probably add much overall to the game.
Drax,
I can hear you in my ear.
so, who do you think built this place?
Kree. I can tell by the hideous architecture. I have never encountered more bloodthirsty and nefarious creatures. I rejoiced greatly when they were annihilated.
And so it shadows out the B option for no reason, because there's a new question now.
Drax, pick up.
What do you require of me?
What can you tell me about Thanos?
Years ago, I had a wife named Hovat and a daughter named Gamora. Due to Thanos' madness, they now rest in a place where I cannot visit. But I, Drax the Destroyer, will grant them the vengeance they deserve.
So I guess this is maybe backstory that you could get,
Yo, Rocket.
Hey, PQ.
So,
just in case you
is
needed
that
the
fancy gun of
backstory.
yours ready yet?
You can't rush perfection or nanomolecular weaponry, so no.
I would assume very, very few people would have played this game, though, without knowing something about the Guardians of the Galaxy. Although a fairly high number of people probably played this game having only watched the movies, and in fairness, that would also include
Hey,
me.
Rocket.
You need something from me?
What can you tell me about Thanos?
Only one thing that matters. The Big T wants to murderize every living being in the universe. He's a simple man in that way.
Rocket is unavailable, so that doesn't work. Maybe in the comics he does want to kill everybody instead of just half the universe. But arguably, if it was just the Marvel Cinematic Universe that threw out the idea that he wanted to kill half of the people so it would double the amount of remaining resources in the universe, that makes Thanos too sympathetic of a character in a movie series that didn't need a sympathetic character.
Yo,
Yes.
got any useful info about Thanos?
Unfortunately, I do. Being raised by a monster, you learn firsthand of the darkness that lives within them. Thanos exists solely to impress death, to rule the galaxy unopposed. We would be wise to prepare for a battle unlike any other.
Hey, Gamora.
What now?
We'll just
between you and
exhaust
me,
all of these.
This place is kind of freaking me out. Yeah. Never was a fan of haunted houses.
The sooner we finish the job, the sooner we can get the hell out. And yeah, I don't love it in here either.
You can see the game is also cheating here by having him wear the mask. That way they don't have to animate the lip flaps.
Yo, Drax.
Yes, Star-Lord.
Wish I had your help over here.
Ah, I understand. You are afraid of being alone.
Okay, so we've exhausted every single option. Let's fly up to the second level and then I guess look at some more things. Very awkward
Looks like the Nova Corps made an emergency
floating
landing.
boots.
Right through a wall. Kinda looks like my landing.
But he zoomed in really close. So now if we were going to try and turn around, the camera angle is not actually going to let me see in front of that. So this whole second floor is literally just to look at that one thing. Then you have just an awkward walking section here.
You took a hell of a hit.
Are we supposed to find something else? Or was that supposed to just be a good point to land?
Was this damage in the fight?
Force
or
me to
was
land.
it supposed to look like this?
So we've got a statue. And then you've got, looks like maybe broken remains of other statues. You'd think there might be more of a video game aspect here where you have to assemble pieces of the statue, but maybe you don't. I'm heavily questioning what I'm supposed to actually be doing right now. It doesn't seem like much of anything. We can't go any higher. So maybe it's a case where I'm supposed to just learn so I could end up here, so I could land on this.
Ooh.
So it's
Hey,
basically
now.
a hidden object
That could
game
do some
element.
damage.
You have to
there?
just search for
What's up?
What's
that
going on
one
over there,
item
man?
to move
I
forward.
found a crashed Nova Corps ship. Right smack through the wall.
Ew.
So if you take your sweet time,
Yeah.
it'll take you 20
I
minutes
think
to
its
get through
guns can
this
blast the door
section,
open,
but if you
I can't get into the
accidentally
Check the side. Should be an
find it
access
as the
override
first
panel.
item you search,
I might have stripped
it'll
one of
take
these
you
ships
only a
apart.
few minutes,
cockpit. Found the panel, but I can't
and
get
it
it open.
highlights how
Yeah,
the
you're
rest of
gonna need
the
an override chip to access it.
the
High-ranking
area
officers
is probably
usually
not
carry
going to matter.
Maybe I could figure out who was in charge. Well, I've got the time scanner.
What the heck is the time scanner? And why do I have it? So I guess this is showing us some things that happened in the past. Okay, that guy gets shot. That guy runs and he gets shot. Who's shooting though? Do you only see the history of corpses and not the history of everything?
Here we go. You look like an authority figure. Oh!
There we see Thanos. Which, his size alone just really goes to show you that
Jeez.
if the Guardian of the Galaxies ever are going to fight him, it's going to be a tough battle, to say the least. So now all of a sudden we have a helmet we can interact with.
Bingo! I'd eat you. Got it.
Of course, this all kind of betrays the dialogue interactions that were the best parts of the Walking Dead game, in that we are in an empty room talking to nobody except for people over the radio, and we're not making high-level moral decisions. Inherently, just from the beginning of this,
Hey, you guys still
you
out
know
there?
that
Affirmative,
Peter
Star-Lord.
Quill is just not going to be
You all should cover your ears.
a
Understood.
serious enough character
This can't be good.
to
Booyah!
be the protagonist of a Telltale game compared to The Walking Dead. Like, main character you play in Walking Dead Telltale games is super
This
serious
is a
in their
Kree
deep,
temple.
important
They're a
moral
technologically
decisions it's
advanced
asking you to
species,
make.
Strong of body,
Here,
powerful of military.
Marvel
What is
comic
Thanos even doing here? What does he
logic
want
is
with this
just going to
place?
have us be the
Guess
good
we'll find
guys
out.
no matter
Know
what
one
we
thing for
do.
certain. I gotta get
and
this thing working or we're all
Thanos is going
dead.
to be the bad guy no matter what we do.
Almost done tinkering. Promise. Just a little more calibrating and this baby'll sing. And by sing, I mean put a dead-sized hole in someone.
We're counting on you, Rocket.
Nothing inspires the
Now it
creative
says at
soul
the
like
top that
intense
Rocket
pressure,
will
right?
remember that, and technically
Hey, I think this can
the
take us
game
down.
will remember that, but
If the controls aren't too damaged.
that doesn't really
Eh,
mean
no big
much.
deal, Gams. I can undamage them.
I am Groot.
We're just standing
Groot
around.
says he's worried we bit off more than we can chew. Why don't you relax, you big wooden baby? We're just going deeper into the old creepy temple to stop a literal murderizing machine. What's the worst that could happen?
So should we try and joke, or should we try to be serious?
I am Groot. There is nothing to fear. I will protect both of you cowards.
There. Good as new.
The time has come. Either Thanos falls, or we do.
On my planet, before a great battle, our fearless leader would rally the troops with his words.
Let's just say nothing here.
Sometimes silence is the most powerful statement of all. I must remember this.
Then Drax will remember that. The other problem we run into, though, with this story is, on top of it trying to be comedic like this, you can't kill off any of these characters. You'd want to leave it open to a sequel, and B, you just know Marvel is not going to let them kill off a character, or even really scar up a character. It would be very believable that they're going to introduce some new character that you've never seen in the movies or comics, and that will be the character that nobly sacrifices themselves at the end of the game. You could potentially have a situation here where you get into a time loop and they end up with like the time Infinity Stone.
What?
Stop whatever your mouth is doing.
But yeah, that would be about the only way you could kill off characters, is that at the end you would have to undo the death of those characters.
Your suffering is ended. At last.
And it's important
It's mine.
to point out that in the comics they were Infinity Gems, in the movies they were Infinity Stones.
Yes.
No big difference there other than the Infinity Gems themselves are not cut into round stone jewel shape,
Thanos!
and they
We're
can
gonna
take
take
on
you
different forms in the movies.
So were the Nova Corps. But as you can see, Guardians, now that I have this, I shall roll through the galaxy like a great wave, crushing the bones of every inhabitant and the civilizations of every planet I pass.
Oh, let me guess. It's a ancient superweapon. Or something.
The Eternity Forge.
Call it!
Daughter, you have aligned yourself with such pathetic creatures.
I was never your daughter.
Then you will die an adversary.
Yeah, that's not happening, big guy.
I don't feel
Your
like
actions are
Thanos
futile. You cannot kill
is
me.
really a character that you could get emotionally knocked off his game.
Give me a few more seconds!
You don't have any more!
So they're saying we're going after the Eternity Forge. I guess it would be kind of interesting if it turned out he already has the Infinity Stones. And so now you can all of a sudden pull right and left trigger to shoot, which is maybe not something we've been prepared to expect.
This is for my wife
But
and daughter!
none of it really matters. It's all just quick time event stuff. And
You
if we
always
were
the
able to
ungrateful one.
You're right.
kill Thanos
Thanks
or
for training me to
injuring him.
kill. I'll put it to good use.
It's weird that you're controlling all of the characters at once here. Well, go ahead and get all the quick time events, because there is, I guess, a small chance that you would just die, and then it would say continue.
Hey, look!
But
I'm a distraction!
most modern Telltale games really never do that. Or if they do it, they barely do it. I suppose it would be nice if there was a surprising twist here, that they actually did defeat Thanos, and then that just eliminates him as being a potential character in the narrative. And then we could move on to some new threat.
Rocket!
I know.
Gun!
I know.
You took everything from me.
I removed your weakness. I gave you purpose.
He's kind of swapping based on the lighting between different shades of purple.
Thanos!
Yeah, sometimes he's a little bit brighter purple, sometimes he's darker purple. Yeah, that feels inconsistent. By the way, hitting the wrong button doesn't really matter. In fact, a lot of QuickTime events nowadays will accept any input at all. So it'll say press the A button, and if you happen to be pressing the B button, it'll just say, okay, close enough. Because effectively, QuickTime events are not about being the speed bumps to showing the story. They're about pretending like the game is more interactive than it really is.
Come on. Clear shot.
A lot of these stories potentially could have been converted after the downfall of the original Telltale, not to be confused with the new company that calls itself Telltale, in such a way that these would have just been turned into animated movies that you would have seen on something like Netflix, which that probably wouldn't have been a great seller, but at the very least,
I am Groot!
you would be making some money off of this. Whereas this game is not making any money for the new Telltale.
What is this mechanical
Or
nonsense?
whoever else
Why
may
are there 3
own
triggers?
the
Peter!
rights to this game. It very well may be the case that Disney owns the rights to this game now, in part or in whole.
I'm ending this!
He's gonna break the gun and it's gonna explode on him.
You are a waste of life!
Yeah. So it would seem to me more what's gonna happen here is Star-Lord's gonna shoot the gun and get sent back in time, or he's going to
Of the galaxy.
shoot the gun
You cannot
to
even
shoot
guard
the
yourselves.
forge, which is going to send him back in time.
The galaxy is mine.
It only lets me target the
Smile, son of a...
Thanos. I would have been more ambitious and had the Guardians go after somebody else. Somebody small, somebody not connected with Thanos. So inherently you have a problem here. In that in the movie, Thanos succeeds in Marvel Endgame in one timeline, the first timeline. He succeeds completely and then retires to a planet. In the movie, then they go back in time and they defeat him. And I think they chop off his head and he's dead. So now you have a alternate story being told that they've done enough to at least knock down Thanos. But you really can't have Thanos be the bad guy always. Yes, the Marvel Cinematic Universe set him up as potentially being the bad guy from the beginning of Phase 1.
Way.
But the Telltale game in particular should have moved to a different character. In particular, they probably should have been focused more on Peter Quill's father. Let's see.
I can't believe it, guys, but he's dead.
Believe it, man! We rock!
I guess what you could do is reveal that he's actually not Thanos, or that he's a clone of Thanos. Not that Thanos is known for really cloning himself. So everybody's alive, except for Thanos, obviously, and now all we need to do is not pick up the Eternity Forge. And everything would be great. But the game is going to force us to pick it up. Have we made any real moral choices so far? Not really. Like, what moral choices could you have made?
Guess this relic is useless. Huh.
But this gun wasn't! Who dead? You dead!
Rocket,
You
quit it.
dead? Yes!
Let's go with kick Thanos, I guess.
Stop it, both of you. Enough!
You'd almost expect her to join in.
We are victorious. The biggest terror the galaxy has ever known is no more. I am Groot!
I never thought this would happen.
Yeah!
Obviously, if you were going to show this sequence,
What do we
though,
do now?
you would kill off at least one of the characters. And I really gotta figure out how to turn off that notification beep. And that's like chapter 2. Like, so we've already done 2 chapters in the first episode. I guess they have more liberty in this case to have more alien creatures.
Only top-shelf booze for the man who killed Thanos. I've got some 1,000-year-old Centaurian ale. Been saving it for a day like this.
Hey, drinks for my team.
5 drinks coming right up.
Wow, he sounded really quiet there. Funny you need a load in between a cutscene. That's terrible game design. The cutscene should be hiding the load.
Guardians fighting Thanos. Do you think we still would have ended up together? All of us. Do you think we would have been friends?
I'd like to think so. One way or another.
Yeah. Me too. For
So,
better or for worse.
It does feel like they're setting up
You
for a
have to
time
admit,
travel
we aren't the most
experience
likely group of
where
friends.
we're going to go back in time and he's going to try and forge the Guardians of the Galaxy a second time.
Without Thanos, we might just end up driving each other crazy. I mean, with Drax and Rocket, even I might have a bit of a temper. Sometimes. It's a miracle we haven't murdered each other already.
But even here,
Except
this
Groot.
is going to be...
Groot's good.
Well, that's what family is, Gamora.
the closest to
We drive each other crazy,
deep
but at the
moral
end of the day,
decisions as far as what
none
you
of that
say.
matters.
If we're a family, it's only because you made us one. Honestly, we all stay because of you, Peter. You're the one who's gonna keep us from falling apart.
Maybe they're setting
wow.
up an
Yeah,
alternate
no pressure.
timeline where he's not a part of it, and then the Guardians outside of Star-Lord are bad guys, and he has to fight them. This is surprisingly way more characters than you really see in Telltale games, just with all the random background characters.
Peter Quill! Watch as I consume this toxic liquid.
Let's see. Let's go with chug.
Chug that liquid, whatever that is.
Yes! I feel nothing.
And this is just going to keep on going,
didn't
so
affect
you
Allow
really
me to
aren't
explain.
given
I
a...
feel nothing. What a feeling to not be feeling.
You're never really going to be given enough falling action, it feels like, in this story. Wow,
This is
that nearly
my
fell
hour of
all the way
honor.
through the table.
My sweet wife and daughter have finally been avenged. I have long dreamt of this moment. And its arrival is satisfactory.
Then we drink for them. I know how much this means to you.
It'd be funny if they got drunk
Now,
and
I can join my family in the afterlife without regret. I was not there to save my family before. But now,
you'd think like those
I have
characters in the
exterminated
background would
Thanos.
matter, but I doubt they
my
do.
redemption is complete.
Groot's totally right. He said Peter killed Thanos, not you, big guy.
Nonsense. Clearly, I got my revenge.
Didn't see you pulling the trigger.
My hands are too strong. I would break such a puny device.
Yeah, excuses.
Now,
always
here's
come.
your real moral
Keep 'em
decision,
coming, champ.
where you have to
break you
actually
next.
choose. And it's just going to pause. No timer on this one.
Of course you did, Drax. You killed the guy who killed your family. That's the definition of revenge.
Yes. Thank you, Peter. Those are precisely my beliefs. I shall celebrate by consuming this vile swill.
Yes, this is the gun that blew a hole in Thanos. But no, you can't do shots on it. Okay, maybe just one.
This is a lot of animation for a Telltale game.
Hey, Rocket.
So, as I was saying, I built this brilliant, beautiful piece of machinery with my own two hands. I can tell you're impressed by my technological virility. Ain't nobody in the universe can
And
do
see,
what I do.
the problem with a
especially
lot of
not
these
any
games
you
is just
chumps.
stroking the ego
Things
of every
break,
character
I
is
fix 'em better.
a
You need
decent way to
weapon?
play.
I'll make you 10.
You don't really have to
Position of lovable
pick or
genius
choose who
has
you like or who you
officially
don't.
Been filled.
You know, I couldn't have said it better myself.
Just
My good pal Rocket.
try to be friends,
His
particularly
gun
in this
wrecked
case, since
Thanos.
you're starting off with a
Your
group of
boss feels
friends.
good.
Like,
You
there's
know?
really no reason to not
Maybe
be friendly
I should quit
with
while
people.
I'm ahead. Go out on a high note. We've been at this hero business nonstop for a while now. I should just retire and live off all the fame and free booze. Yeah! Woohoo! Yeah! As they say, absence makes the heart grow bigger. Nah, that sounds like a medical condition. Fonder! That's it. Given enough time, and even Drax will miss me.
Oh, yeah, because you've been working so hard. No. You've earned a break.
We all have. I mean, look at all we accomplished. Thanos is dead. The galaxy is guarded. Our job's done. Maybe it's time we go our separate ways.
Now, personally, I don't really care that much about the Guardians of the
I
Galaxy,
got
so
two hands
if they all did want to retire and go their separate ways, that would be a great way to go. It's nothing special that I know of that
Guess everything is, you know?
that means they need to stay together.
I am Groot.
I mean, what is it going to be that the Guardians of the Galaxies are still flying around having adventures when they're
Drinking out of a
in their
galactic super weapon, I see.
80s, 90s?
Nice to see you're enjoying yourself.
Let's just compliment her, stroke egos. Why
You
not?
kicked incredible amounts of ass today. Thanos is all kinds of dead.
Yeah, I know. It's been a complicated day.
How about a refill?
Why not?
On my way.
You'd think
You disrespectful human!
Nova Corps
How dare you?
would probably pay him greatly. No reason to be rude.
Man, you know what? I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, even random
Wasn't
people.
looking where I was going. And I'm drunk.
Watch your steps, Star-Lord.
That guy looks like he's gonna try and rob you.
Guess not everyone's a fan.
At least I managed not to drop this.
My hero.
I try. Thanos murdered your people. I thought you'd be happier once he was gone.
He was a monster, yes. But he was also my family.
Now, it also
I can't make sense of it.
need to recognize that the first
upset is
episode
okay,
of a lot of these Telltale games are
This has got to be a lot to handle.
longer than the
At least I
later
have all you guys
episodes.
to
It's
distract me.
very bait and switchy in that way for some of the Telltale games. And inherently,
Thinking about Nebula.
Telltale
Your
games,
sister?
with their episodic release
I
nature,
called her that.
uh,
We both called Thanos father.
really is just a combination of both the worst
He used to
aspects of
force us to
pre-order
To prove who was
games
worthy of being
and
called his daughter.
buying DLC at the same time.
I won. We couldn't stop until there was blood on the ground.
That is messed up.
Yeah, it is. But Nebula believed it was normal
It would be
to fight and kill for what you
a
want.
really bad experience if you bought a Telltale game
Neb
and
stabbed me while I was sleeping because I won.
only
Imagine how
played
she's
like the
gonna
first
react when she
episode or
finds
the
out we
second
killed
episode of 5
Thanos.
episodes.
She loved him, I think.
Of course, I bet some people did
In
get
her
bored.
own way.
Just go with silence
Once
there.
Nebula hears about what happened, she'll find me. And probably do the other arm. There's a small part of me that wants to see my sister again. But when she finds out what we did, she's gonna lose her mind. She'll hunt us all down and kill us. You don't know Nebula. Imagine me, but angrier. And enhanced with cybernetics.
Again, we have another choice where we could say stay away from her.
Like you said, she's your sister. Trust me, family's worth fighting for.
So we're
Maybe
getting
you're
the
right.
beginnings of a story
I'll
here.
try to call her. After a few more of these.
Nebula maybe is the new bad guy if we don't end up going
To
through some kind
family.
of time travel.
Huh?
I'm
To
expecting
family.
for the chapter to end and a big twist to happen, but
without us.
it's probably going to happen in
we were
about
a team.
20 more minutes.
What are we toasting?
I built the gun who killed the baddie. The toast is mine. Says so in the rule book.
I have not heard of this rule book. I am Groot.
So in this case,
Of course, it's
if
real.
I don't pick anything, what happens?
Yeah. I got nothing. Drink?
Drink!
drink!
Drink. I am Groot.
Well, we haven't killed each other yet. Nice work, Peter.
Them even lying down on the ground is more animation than I've ever seen a Telltale game really want to do.
I've been looking all
They
over
put a
for
lot
you.
of effort and polish into this one, probably because they got
why?
extra funding from
We got
Marvel
a
and DC.
big problem.
Okay.
And there's chapter 3.
It was not my fault. I barely consumed my body.
So let's just pause there. Yeah, I don't want these episodes to go that long. And Telltale games in particular have often pushed me to play for too long of episodes. So far, so good setup. I still question how much you can really do with the Guardians of the Galaxy, but by eliminating Thanos, we pretty much know he won't show up, or if he does show up, it's going to be some time travel mechanic, and he'll show up at the end of season episode 5. Otherwise, it seems like Nebula is going to be our main antagonist, and it seems like the main goal will be to keep the team together and keep the team happy, at least so far. This is, though, an awkward experience compared to The Walking Dead, because The Walking Dead made a very smart decision by not using any of the characters from The Walking Dead comic or TV series. Well, I think maybe there's a couple characters that are side characters, but the main characters are totally new, so they totally could be killed, they totally could be injured, and they could totally make different decisions than what was already set into the canon of the comic book or the TV series. You don't have any of those opportunities with a Marvel license, or Guardians of the Galaxy in general. You kind of know how all the characters are going to react. You kind of know how all the bad guys are going to react. You can't easily create a new bad guy. You can't easily create new good guys. And then even at that, we know the action level that are in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and Telltale games just cannot reach that level of action at all. So it's a bad mix at that level too. Almost certainly, without even having played the newer Guardians of the Galaxy game, I could say that game probably is better. But yeah, that is just speculation. So, yep, we'll see what happens in the next episode. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to support me further, there's some links below in the description box. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.